Hey, how's it going? So it's been a while since I made a video, and I watched this latest Kanye White House meeting, and I thought it was quite interesting. There's a lot of controversy about it right now, but I actually think it's quite important uh, culturally and politically for our future. So, or what's going to happen in our future. But anyway, I wanted to go through some of the points, and it was entertaining. This is from. I'll include the link to this video, and I highly recommend anytime there's a political event or something, look up the C-SPAN version. Always, it's unfiltered. There's no like stupid commentary interjecting and stuff like that. It's much more unfiltered and raw. They don't bleep out the bad words. There's so I like C-SPAN for that, and I don't have cable anymore, so I don't really watch their shows. But their morning call-in show is a laugh riot. So C-SPAN is great. So let me just get into. I'm going to forward a little bit here, and I'll include the link to this video. But we can talk about some of the points that Kanye brings up, and also I'm going to go through some of the criticisms. Like there's a Huffington Post article about his wild things he said.
He actually had power, that he wasn't just one of a monolithic voice, but he could wrap people around. So there's theories that there's infinite amounts of universe and there's alternate universe. So it's very important for me to get Hoover out, because in an alternate universe, I am him. And I have to go.
So he's talking about Larry Hoover, who I guess is in jail for like 6 life sentences. Anyway, but what he's saying there is, in an alternate universe, I'm Larry Hoover. What Kanye is doing here is he's saying that I am going to rewrite the story, and that's very powerful because, well, we'll go into it some more, but taking ownership for your own life and rewriting that narrative, that story that you tell yourself about who you are, what meaning you have in this life, what purpose you have in this life, rewriting that, and that's what Kanye is reframing the story, and that's gonna be that's gonna be very powerful because it's gonna communicate that empowerment to people's subconscious and resonate with them.
And get him free, because he was doing positive inside of Chicago, just like how I'm moving back to Chicago. And it's not just about, getting on stage and being an entertainer and having a monolithic voice that's forced to be a specific party. People expect that if you're black, you have to be Democrat. I've had conversations that basically said that welfare is the reason why a lot of black people end up being Democrat. They say, first of all, it's a limit to amount of jobs. So the fathers lose the jobs, and they say, we'll give you more money for having more kids in your home. And then we got rid of the mental health institutes in the 80s and the 90s, and the prison rates just shot up. And now you have.
Yeah, this is true that mental health like sucks in this country. Like if you have to like really work hard to find a good therapist. Like if you're not if you're just, life is like really freaking stressing me out, or I've had some event in my life and now I'm really depressed, or I've kind of lost my mojo, or I've been traumatized as a child and trying to deal with all the issues as an adult that kind of come up in your unconscious and you're not even aware. Where do I get help? It's hard. And if you get hospitalized for some mental break or something, then you're in the system, which That's not good either, because then typically it's drugs and a lot of these medications that they put you on to like somehow correct your neurophysiology that's out of whack, because oh yeah, because you're severely depressed or have borderline or whatever. Anyway, and the welfare system, he brings up this point later on about victim mentality, and like weakening the individual so that by wealth, by the by helping people, you're in a way weakening them. Now, of course, this is a dichotomy. Like, this is very difficult to resolve. Like, how there are times in, I think, everyone's life that you need the help of another person. Um, Obviously, when you're a child, but as an adult, when just fucking life happens, right? Um, so how can this happen? And he lays out some stuff later on I'll get into, but I think he's like spot on a lot of things, actually.
Shot
Ah.
Iraq, what people call Chirac, which is actually our murder rate is going down by 20% every year. I just talked to the superintendent, met with Michael Sachs, that's Rom's right-hand man. So I think it's the bravery that helps you beat this game called life. You know, they tried to scare me to not wear this hat, my own friends, but this hat, it gives me power in a way. You know, my dad and my mom separated, so I didn't have a lot of male energy in my home. And also, I'm married to a family that, you know, not a lot of male energy going on. It's beautiful, though. But there's times where, you know, it's something about, you know, I love Hillary. I love everyone, right? But the campaign, I'm with her, just didn't make me feel as a guy that didn't get to see my dad all the time, like a guy that could play catch with his son. There was something about when I put this hat on, it made me feel like Superman. You made a Superman. That's my favorite superhero.
He's rewriting the narrative now, like Superman, the red cape. He's wearing the red in the shape of a hat, in the form of a hat, but in his mind, it's the red cape. It's a symbol that he is linked to the hero, the Superman comic, the hero myth, and he talks about that more. Now, yeah, this is the Huffington Post article, I guess, about the wild things he said. So maybe a little hard to read, but let's see if I can make it bigger. Sure. And you know, the thing about Hillary, um, I love Hillary, but just didn't make sense. Didn't make me feel as a guy. Um, this is like this is not a wild thing to say, okay? Like, obviously, men and women have huge differences in both our physical nature and our mental makeup as well. What we find important. So it makes sense that a quote unquote woman's message won't resonate with a person trying to manifest their male, I don't want to say power, but a strong a man that is in a relationship with very feminine women, you know, they are attracted. A very feminine woman may be attracted to a strong male, and you know, every God, just saying that, people can think like, oh, any strong male is dangerous, but you want a strong man to protect your family, don't you? And your children, to be there, to be anyway. So I thought that was interesting. And the main point, rewriting the narrative, the story, right? The story of Superman, and now Kanye is taking on this symbol, the red hat, as a trying to kind of resonate with that idea of Superman. And these are kind of out of order, but that's all right. Let's go back and watch some more.
And you made a Superman cape for me also as a guy that looks up to you, looks up to Ralph Lauren, looks up to American industry guys. Non-political, no bullshit, put the beep on it, however you want to do it.
This is C-SPAN. There's no beeps. That's why I watch C-SPAN clips.
Seconds delay, and just goes in and gets it done. Right now, you gave me the heart to go to Adidas, because at Adidas, when I went in 2015, we were a $14 billion company, losing $2 billion.
Yeah, I don't really know much of Kanye's history, actually. So, I mean, this was interesting, but let's see. Let me skip ahead a little bit. He talks about...
rehabilitation, because we didn't have the abilities in the first place. We never had anyone who taught us. We didn't teach us. Exactly. We didn't have no one to tout us, right? So it's more important than any specific deal, anything, that we bring jobs into America, and that we provide a transition with mental health in the American.
I like that. American. That's a great, again, reframing the word, right? I think that's great.
Education curriculum that Jim has worked on. Larry Hoover also has a curriculum that he's worked on. We have Montessori curriculums that we worked on. WeWorks has a beautiful curriculum. The Waldorf establishment has a curriculum. We have meditation. There's a lot of things affecting our mental health that makes us do crazy things, that puts us back into that trap door called the 13th Amendment.
Yeah, this is interesting. I didn't know exactly what he was referring to. He talks about the 13th Amendment a lot, and I'll go into that. But the education is critical, because so much of your ideas about life, what you're exposed to as a child, will then kind of like unfold as an adult, and we kind of stick with what we know. Or we learn something from our parents or our caregivers, and he kind of brings that up with the lack of fathers in so many black homes, or the lack of a male female permanent pair bond in the homes of so many black children, where they're not getting exposed to positive male roles or father figures or mentor figures. And his idea of these education systems, where he talks about being exposed to the arts, and like a liberal like the liberal arts, like the classics, and studying that. And then as it relates to, the music and the soul and the heart, and yeah, I think it's really that would be key, building the community as well. See what else he has to say here.
I did say abolish with the hat on, because why would you keep something around that's a trap door? If you're building a floor, the Constitution is the base of our industry, right? Of our country, of our company. Would you build a trap door that if you mess up and you accidentally, something happens, you fall and you end up next to the Unabomber?
Yeah, what he's talking about, this 13th Amendment, and he's absolutely right. I didn't realize this, but this is from the Wikipedia article, and you can't really, it's not going to be, that's all right, cover me up. The 13th Amendment right here. The 13th Amendment exempts penal labor from its prohibition of forced labor. This allows prisoners who have been convicted of crimes, not those merely awaiting trial, to be required to perform labor or else face punishment while in custody. Yeah, it's a form of legal slavery. It incentivizes businesses. It incentivizes anyone in the labor industry to get more people into jail, because then they can collude or create relationships with the administrative structures of the penal system to get very cheap labor. He's right on this. It should either be amended or to remove that aspect of it, or it should be abolished or repealed. He's right. Where we've incentivized the prison system in the sense that we've created a advantage for people to obtain labor at a cheap cost from the prison system. and we wonder why there's so many people in prison. Okay, yeah. Anytime you incentivize something, you get more of it. Anyway.
Got to remove all that trapdoor out of the relationship. The four gentlemen that wrote the 13th Amendment, I think the way the universe works, it's perfect. We don't have 13 floors, do we? You know, so the four gentlemen that wrote the 13th Amendment didn't look like the people they were amending. Also, at that point, it was illegal for blacks to read or African Americans to read. And so that meant if you actually read the amendment, you get locked up and turned to a slave. Again, so what I think is we don't need sentences, we need pardons. We need to talk to people. I was diagnosed with bipolar disorder. I was connected with a neuropsychologist that works with the athletes in the NBA and the NFL. And he looked at my brain. It's equal on 3 parts. I'm going to go ahead, drop some bombs for you. 98 percentile IQ test. I had a 75 percentile.
Okay, we get it. You're very smart. All right, that's cool.
Of all human beings, but it was counting 8 numbers backwards after it was repeated. So I'm going to work on that one. The other one's 98% Tesla, Freud. You know, so he said that I actually wasn't bipolar. I had sleep deprivation, which could.
Yeah. Now, he's right in the sense that sleep deprivation is extremely common. I'm not going to include links, but look up, Matthew Wallace. He was on Joe Rogan, and he talked about how just like how critical a good night's sleep is consistently. Like you can like I guess not cheat, but you can have like some nights of reduced amounts of sleep, like less than 7 hours, 6 hours. But if you continually get very, very low or reduced amounts of sleep per night, good rested sleep, dementia will kick in. He said like the trials of people who have gone like where they like, oh, how long can you go out without sleep? He's like, they literally start dreaming while they're awake. You literally start hallucinating while you're awake if you have like drastic amounts. But he is right that I think there's more and more science coming out that long, lengthy periods of your life where you have very reduced amounts of or consistent reduced amounts of sleep, less than 7 hours, 6 hours, dementia can actually occur.
Cause dementia 10 to 20 years from now, where I wouldn't even remember my son's name. So all this power that I got, and I'm taking my son to the Sox game and all that, I wouldn't be able to remember his name from a misdiagnosis. And what we need is we can empower the pharmaceuticals and make more money. That's one thing. I've never stepped into a situation where I didn't make people more money.
Okay. All right. You're super smart and you make, okay. That's fine. Let me skip ahead a little bit. He talks about the I-plane, which was kind of interesting, but oops.
Have to bring jobs into America because our best export is entertainment and ideas, but
He's absolutely right there. That is America's greatest export. And look, I mean, look who's president. He was a reality TV star. I mean, along with all his other activities, right? So, and now entertainment and music, and yes, that is our main export.
when we make everything in China and not in America, then we're cheating on our country. And we're putting people in positions to have to do illegal things to end up in the cheapest factory ever, the prison system.
That's true.
I'll tell you what, that was pretty impressive.
And Trump goes, very interesting. And then, someone asked him about race.
All people. And I believe that when I went on to NBC, I was very emotional and I was programmed to think from a victimized mentality, a welfare mentality.
Oh, we missed the question here. Let's see.
Of President Bush that he doesn't care about black people. And you've heard some people say that about this president. How do you respond to that? What do you make of that?
I think we need to care about all people. And I believe that when I went on to NBC, I was very emotional and I was programmed to think from a victimized mentality, a welfare mentality. I think that with blacks and African Americans, we really get caught up in the idea of racism over the idea of industry. We say if people don't have land, they settle for brands.
That's another great the way he's reframing things, you know, it's like American. If you don't have land, you settle for brands. And yeah.
We want Polo Sport and Obama again. We want a brand more than we want land because we haven't known how it feels to actually have our own land and have ownership of our own blocks. So when you don't have
Yeah, and this is, I think there's this, it feels like what he's, kind of moving toward is trying to build the communities. I don't have the clip here, but when he talks about Chicago, where he's from, he's using we, like he's putting himself like, I'm not, he came out of that, out of the hood and has a lot of respect in the community because of that, because he made it, right? And he's coming back, saying we, and aligning himself with other community leaders, trying to solve the issues in the inner city and the south side of Chicago, which is, I've driven through the south side of Chicago. Yeah, it's like a war zone. It's pretty nuts, but that was years ago, so I don't know what it is now, but let's hear some more. It's fascinating, the way he's reframing things, and turning the kind of the victim mentality on its head too. Like, I'll get into it some more here.
have ownership, then it's all about how something looks. It's about the patina. It's not about the soil. It's not about the core. So we focus more on, is somebody wearing something? Does someone disrespect me? So I gotta shoot them? Or the idea of someone being racist. We talk about police murders, which we definitely have to discuss, and we have to bring nobility to the police officers and make them, because police officers are just like us. But there's this whole hate building, right? And that's a major thing about racial tension. And we also, as black people, we have to take a responsibility for what we're doing. We kill each other more than police officers. And that's not saying that the police officer is not an issue, because they are in a position of power. But sometimes they're in placement of law enforcement. They need to be law power. It's force versus power.
Yeah, that's a good point. Like someone in a position of power is they're a powerful individual, and there is a level of respect in the sense that you know they have power, but they're not using it, but you know they could. Whereas what he's saying is that in many cases, they're just using force. And so that actually erodes their power. It definitely erodes any respect that you may have for somebody if they just are using force against you, right?
When you shouldn't have to force people to do that. So a lot of times a police officer is sitting there, they're being forced to do this and forced to do that block, and then they force somebody into something and force something. We have to release the love throughout the entire country and give opportunities. A lot of times it's just the overall lack of reparations that we, at any given point, we say, oh, this is racist, this is racist, this is racist, this is racist. So we don't have...
Yeah, it's kind of like, well, it's used as a bit of a crutch in some cases, I'm pretty sure, where it's like, I can't do this, I'm not capable, and it's not that I'm not capable, but there's racism. That it's not my fault. I think that's the victim mentality that he's referring to.
Not a reparations, but we had the 13th Amendment. We got to open up the whole conversation. So, and that's a move. One of the moves that I love that liberals tried to do. The liberal will try to control a black person through the concept of racism, because they know that we are very proud, emotional people. So when I said I like Trump to like someone that's liberal, they'll say, oh, but he's racist. You think racism can control me? Oh, that don't stop me. That's an invisible wall.
Yeah, that's not a real wall. That's a wall that someone is trying to put into your mind, right? It's like an idea that someone's trying to implant in you that, oh, you have a wall. You need to like put Trump behind a wall because he's a racist, and you know, and Kanye is again reframing it like, no, that's not real. That's just what you're trying to put onto me. And he's doing whatever, you know, he feels is whatever he wants in this way, right? Or whatever he thinks is best for him, his maybe his brand, I don't know, but he's definitely seems to be working with community leaders, and so trying to tear down the walls. Yeah, I mean, the reason I have this picture in the background, this is Sacsayhuaman in Peru, I believe, and it's an ancient megalithic wall, and you can see there the walls are the blocks, the components, the members of the wall are all extremely different in size. They're polygonal. They're not clean square or rectangular, and that actually makes the wall stronger. It's the story of America. The diversity, the differences make us stronger because. Anyway, I just thought that was interesting.
Mr. West, what
would you like? You reject those who say he's racist.
You had one question, we can go to another.
He totally, like, we're going to go to another one. Anyway. Where we at? 14. Here he talks again about
information. Like sometimes people say this kid has ADD, this kid has ADD. He don't have ADD. School is boring.
School is fucking boring. Oh, just sit there. just sit there for an hour and just listen to this bunch of gobbledygook. And don't ask. Oh, if you ask a question, like, we don't have time for your question because we have to get all through this Common Core bullshit material that, just memorize it and then regurgitate it. Like, there's no creativity, there's no engagement. Like you could be a great artist or musician, and you're there drawing and just so into it, and bell rings, stop your drawing, whatever you're doing, and then go sit in chemistry class, which you find extremely boring. You're more of an artistic, visual person. I'm more of an abstract. I don't want to intellectual. I don't want to sound like I'm brag. No, I don't want to brag. But I like to talk about ideas. I like philosophy, religion, story, myth, narrative, ideas, and how they are encapsulated and transferred. But school just kind of tries to cookie cut you into these different areas, and it's not engaging. It's not interesting at all. And then you're surprised, why is this kid distracted? How can he not be distracted when it's not interesting at all? Anyway, that's a tangent.
It was boring. It's not as exciting as this. We have to make it more exciting. We have to mix curriculums. You play basketball while you're doing math. You learn about music while you meditate in the morning. We have to instate mental health and art programs.
This is true. We don't get there's no well-rounded education. People think about meditation as well, you just sit there. It's a waste of time. You need to be studying and learn your multiplication tables, which, yeah, that's important. Or, you're just playing basketball. I can imagine that, number one, there's definite science that physical activity improves your cognitive performance. So all these schools that are getting rid of recess and sports programs, it's fucking stupid. Physical activity improves the health of your physiology, the strength of your heart, which your brain uses 25% of the energy of your body. And that energy is the brain receives that energy from blood flow, which comes from the heart. So having a healthy body from physical exercise. And also, boys have much more physical energy. They are not geared to just sit and for hours upon hours without some physical exertion. So yeah. And then the meditation, this is kind of I think this would help boys, men of all ages immensely, mainly because men are not as in tune with their bodies as I think women naturally are, because of the physiology of being a woman and the natural maturation process and the monthly cycle women have. I think that they receive much stronger signals that pull them more in their consciousness more internally to that sensation, where men don't. So I think I really believe that I've done several meditation retreats in my life, 10-day silent retreats, Vipassana, and it's helped me immensely to kind of feel what's happening in my body, because your emotions will start in the body. So getting in tune with that is kind of what's going on here? I'm angry. What am I angry about? Oh, self-discovery, self-knowledge.
Back into the city. So those are, and also Larry Hoover is an example of a man that was turning his life around. And as soon as he tried to turn his life around, they hit him with 6 life sentences. So I believe you say don't tear down the statues. Larry Hoover is a living statue. He's a beacon for us.
Yeah, I didn't really research the Larry Hoover case much, so I'm not sure about that one.
That needs to see his family, that needs to go out and represent. When you have a block leader on every single block, they can own the block as their own. That's something I learned from Jim Brown.
Yeah, goes back to ownership, and there's a something called self-determination theory, and I ran across it. I don't have the page up, but I ran across it trying to research, like how people get motivated in work, like how, because I've had quite a few jobs in my life where it wasn't fulfilling to me. Why wasn't it fulfilling? What was missing in the equation or in the relationship or the type of work I was doing? And self-determination theory, you can use this acronym AMP, not ownership, but autonomy, which kind of is ownership, right? Like you can work, you have a sense that what you're working on is like yours. You can work autonomously on that aspect of it. The other one is mastery, meaning what you're working on is complex enough that it's not boring. You're engaged, you're learning new things. And then the other is purpose. Purpose, and this goes back to like his thing with the block, where your purpose is you are related to, not related like physically, but you have a relationship with these people that you're working with, that are in your community, the mothers, the fathers, the kids, the aunts, the uncles, grandparents. You have a relationship to them, and so that all feeds back into the purpose, and then you have autonomy to drive or direct where this all goes. And so yeah, I think he's absolutely right in having like block leaders or community leaders that really are engaged. And the same with like then when you talk about the police being embedded and engaged and having the same self-determination kind of facets involved in their work, that they're related to their community, right?
Mayor, I can. We need to put curriculums for people who really came from the streets, not people who are just trying to set us up to go into a work system or prison system that applies to what people are really going through, which Jim Brown has created.
What about gun violence with all the debate about the Second Amendment going on?
The problem is illegal guns. Illegal guns is the problem, not legal guns.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Like it almost seems like, we need illegal guns because every person with a gun is going to commit violence against another person. No, it's like people have guns so that they can protect their house, their home. They have the father wants to protect his wife and children, so he has a gun, and hopefully he uses all the proper procedures with that, obviously, to so the children are protected as well from that. But yeah, it's everyone has, the Second Amendment applies to everyone, so that people have the right to bear arms.
We have the right to bear arms.
President Trump has said that he favors stop and frisk. Are you guys going to be discussing that? Do you think he can change his mind?
Yeah.
Yeah, then that's quite a bit of racial profiling controversy with stop and frisk, and Yeah, that one's tough because he did, the black on black crime is extremely prevalent, and so yeah, I mean, I think I'm not sure on that. I'm not a law enforcement type person, so but that's definitely not helping, the relationship between police and the community that they're there to serve and protect, right?
The thing is, let's stop worrying about the future. All we really have is today. We just have today, over and over and over again, the eternal return, the hero's journey. And Trump is on his hero's journey right now. And he might not have expected to have a crazy motherfucker like Kanye West run up and support. But best believe, we are going to make America great. Now, the thing is, another thing is black people have an issue with the word again. And I believe my feeling from that is because I'm going to go all the way Sigmund with it, because time is a myth. All we have is now, all we have is today.
Now, yeah, he got some flack for this. This is one of the things they said, wild things he said. Time is a myth. I actually agree with him completely on this. What he's saying is, black people have a problem with Make America Great Again, and saying like, no, it wasn't great for us in the past, and it wasn't, obviously, but time is a myth, meaning it's a image. It's a way that we make sense of the world. It's an ancient story. And the reason I say time is a myth, because time doesn't exist outside of space. It's space-time. And it's all movement. And what I mean by that is, think of it this way. I read this years ago off of a Reddit post, and it has stuck with me as such a simple explanation. Space is the dimension that allows two objects to exist at the same time in different spaces, right? Time is the dimension that allows two objects to exist at the same space. All right, so time, space, time, it's all motion, it's all movement of objects in this universe. And he's trying to reframe it again, saying that, look, we obviously have a history of past events where different things happened in the past. That's not debated. But the idea that holding on to some of this stuff, I heard it put, a different way. I don't remember by who, but like if you hold on to a painful past that constantly weights down your thoughts, it's like you're dragging a chain around in a way, because you're holding on to this past that holds you back in some ways. He's reframing it here like, look, we can't go back in the past. Horrible things, how far back do you want to go? Like, there was a huge amount of Irish immigrants that came over to America that were basically slaves as well. They were indentured servants. But, so what I'm getting at is, like, we can keep going back and back to all the atrocities that happened in the past, but that doesn't serve us today. What we need to recognize the past as a warning for possible futures, but also what we need to focus on what we can do today. And again, I think his whole he rambles on, but his whole meeting with Trump here, I thought is gonna be have impacts in the black community, in the Democratic Party, et cetera, political systems for a long time, I think.
So the word again, it doesn't hurt us because of the idea of racism and slavery and the different things. it hurts us because we need to focus on who we are now, today. I believe. So I actually brought some hats in that have a bit of a transition. I'm not trying to put you up there on the spot a little bit. I made a hat that says "Make America Great." Just that.
Yeah, like, look to the future, strengthen the individual, and that will strengthen the community, right? Like, have something to live for, or have this future that you're striving for. To his reframing, the red, the Superman cape, the positive attitude that he brings is yeah, I think it's great, actually. Like, I think it's a great message. I hope it continues to. I hope he and the community leaders and I hope he instills this idea in younger people. And then, talking about the arts, like the ancient myths, the ancient stories of the hero's journey, right? Very powerful. I mean, look at superhero movies, how amazingly popular they are. What do you think that is? People have always hungered for that. It's always resonated with them.
But I would love to see at the Super Bowl, Trump wearing the "Make America Great" hat, Colin wearing the "Make America Great," and showing that we can bend a bit on this side, we can bend a bit on this side, and we can learn how to be malleable in the infinite universe that we are and the loving beings that we are. That we don't have to stick to all traditions, and that we aren't a side. We are one unit. We are one country. We are one moment in history and time. We might have been here before, but right now, we're here together, and the greatest value that people have are other people. And we need to stop working on red and blue. It's like a gang again.
He's right there. Like that's true. It seems like this weird ideology of us, them, like, oh, you're on that side, so therefore, like, no, let's talk about the ideas and how we're going to solve these problems, right? So and the way he puts his hands together, that's interesting. Like, it almost feels like he's showing like handcuffed hands and then bringing them apart. Like we can come to we've had this bond of oppression that has connected us in the Black community, and then let's look to the future. Let's break these chains of the past, the chains and the invisible walls that we put in our mind, all of us. I mean, yeah. So I thought it was really good.
Let me ask you this question. You're in the Oval Office.
Okay, and then they're closing up, they're finishing up, and then they're going to go have lunch, and that would be interesting what they talk about there. Maybe it'll be more productive without all the cameras. I don't know. I don't think the lunch was videoed or recorded for the public anyway. So I thought, anyway, so that was kind of like my analysis or breakdown of this talk a bit. I think it's going to be like this whole thing is, I think, much more of a key moment in history, like he said. It's going to be very interesting. Also, like, just thought of this: the Superman cape, the red Superman cape, the red hat, the red pill, red pilling the Black community about welfare or this victim type of mentality, but also him being a role model, instilling the motivation for other mentors to younger men in the community to come back into the community that they came out of, because that's that relatedness, right? That purpose that people would come to help their other members of their community. Anyway, so Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this this analysis. I yammered on for like an hour, but this was really interesting. I'll be doing a lot more videos of just random shit that I want to talk about. So anyway, hope you have a good rest of the day. Take care. Please like, subscribe, share, yada yada. All right. Bye.